Well, it's December of 2024. In gaming, it's been an eventful year to say the least, and once again, I have played 0 new releases. If you asked me to name a single game that came out this year, I don't think that I could name a single one. And you know what? That is okay. I accept that, because you know what I did do this year? I played games from the last couple years instead because they're being sold at half price at cash converters so I can actually afford them now. Overall news in gaming has been pretty huge, consisting of layoffs, unreleasing a game somehow, except no, Lexi from the future here, after I was already done with this script. More Just Ghost has confirmed an off remaster, and the 7th Team Fortress 2 comic just dropped. Out of nowhere. After 8 years. Maybe something did happen. Another thing that I did do this year was start my games design and computer science degree, so I am really excited to be unemployed. Or employed. And then laid off immediately. Outside of games, I've had a lot of fun this year. I've been doing a lot of traveling and going to a lot of conventions to actually have fun with the money I've saved for literally no reason. Many of which being in new places and conventions that I haven't been to before. I had fun at MegaCon in London in January, AnimeCon in Birmingham in June, MegaCon again in July, this time in Manchester, and of course both autumn and winter MCM Comic-Cons, including MCMX EGX, which was actually kind of mid, but that's another topic. Honestly, the highlight of my MCMX EGX weekend wasn't actually the convention. It was Hatsune Miku Expo Europe. They played Utsupi and Yu Yu Yupe. I was having the time of my life out there. If Krypton keeps giving us more than one crumb every concert, maybe we'll desensitize the crowds and I'll be able to hear Miku Sabbath live once in my lifetime, without having to sell a kidney to go to Japan to see the man himself. Oh, and I got a goodie bag at MCM Birmingham for having a creator pass, and the staff member who gave it to me was like, "This is for supporting us and making content for our con," but I didn't actually record anything there, so like, sorry, I guess. I'm mentioning it here as reparations. Thank you for the water bottle, hat, stickers, and power bank. Go to MCM Comic-Con, I guess. Not sponsored, I just feel bad. In my Games of 2023 video, I cracked a couple jokes about how I was only 10 years behind the current console generation, and would thoroughly enjoy the actual releases of that year in, quote, about a decade when they'd be cheap enough for me to get my hands on. Well, that didn't exactly happen, because I managed to grab a Nintendo Switch for 80 quid, again from cash converters, finally bringing me up to date. Of course, at the very end of the generation when the Switch 2 was just being leaked. Like how I got my Wii U the week before Nintendo announced they were shutting off the Nintendo network. Impeccable time- They have it out for me! But enough yapping. Time to get to the meat of this, my rather quite disappointing in comparison to last time list of games that I've played for the first time this year. Continuing my theme of getting into things comically late, the first game I picked up this year was Splatoon 1 for the Wii U, with the server's end date being just 2 months away. I picked up Splatoon for the first time in February of 2024, the same day Side Order released. I saw my friends were excited for Side Order and I went through it. I've always loved Splatoon's visual design, I may as well finally see what it's about. The game was only 5 quid in CX, so why not give a copy a nice home before the game was taken off live support? I could adopt it and cherish it like an elderly shelter cat that nobody wants. Due to my aversion to shooters that I've been trying to mitigate in my previous game choices via exposure therapy, like when I played Ultra Kill obsessively and ended up giving myself a repetitive strain injury, remember that? I wasn't expecting to enjoy Splatoon all that much. It was a shooter at the end of the day, and a multiplayer shooter at that, where I'd constantly feel self-conscious of my gameplay decisions like I was letting my team down. So I was prepared to only enjoy the characters and story like I did with other games in that genre. I pick it up, enjoy the online while it lasted, and that will be that. Oh, boy was I wrong. I very quickly became a turf war menace. It was like I was possessed by some kind of ink-fueled demon. I was immersed in the chaos, and dare I say it, I was having fun. There's something about seeing that little squid girl bouncing around happily on the windscreen after mercilessly slaughtering the dwindling Wii U player base population that dragged me back. Oh, and there was also endless tweaking at the lost screen. When April came around, I was planning on recording a final send-off to the official server, but unfortunately, I got the flu. This did not stop me though.
Hello and welcome to my tribute, my farewell to Splatoon 1. I'm healthy and I'm totally
I picked up the gamepad dizzy, sleepless, and feverish, and recorded the gameplay of a lifetime that resembles a 2019 J-Schlatt bit. And before you ask, yes, the second my symptoms began improving, I disinfected that gamepad. All that matters is that I was there, chat. I was at a moment in history. Also, Future Lexi here, immediately after writing this part of the script, I got the fucking flu again.
See those plant-like things?
In last year's Games of the Year video, I cracked a joke about being broke and playing Pikmin 3 when Pikmin 4 just came out, and how I'd afford a Switch never. Well, I am pleased to announce that my Pikmin addiction was so strong after playing 3 that I bought that Nintendo Switch for the sole purpose of playing Pikmin 4. Nothing else. Some may say that this demonstrates a significant lack of impulse control. Maybe. But I need to stress that this is not the first time I've done this. I bought a Wii U just for Bayonetta, remember? I refreshed the Cash Converter's website for weeks for a Switch in my price range to pop up, and it eventually did. DankPods was not lying, you really can lose yourself at cashies. It came with bootleg Joy-Cons that had unfathomably bright RGB lights, though, but it was worth it. Pictures on screen are real images, by the way. I had to cover them in electrical tape in order to use them. When my copy of Pikmin 4 arrived, bought for 25 quid off of someone's grandma on eBay, by the way, I took 4 days off specifically to Pikmin. I would not regret this purchase. Released in 2023, 10 years after the previous game in the series, or 6 years after whatever Hey Pikmin was, Pikmin 4 opens with Olimar once again crash landing and eating shit. However, after the tutorial section, it changes. You're now playing as a rescue officer going to look for him, customizable however you like. Except I didn't actually like any of the customization options, so I just chose the default character. Pom, my beloved. I love you, Pom. Or Lisa. Or Naomi. Short, scared cat-looking freak. As it turns out, your entire team crash-landed too, along with various dumbasses who heard someone's SOS signal begging for their life and decided it would be a great Jet2 holiday. So now your job as the rookie is to save your co-worker, save the guy whose SOS you picked up, and save a bunch of stupid tourists from the general public. I'm serious, out of every single person there, only like 7 people have a valid reason to be there. Pikmin 4 also introduces a new plot point, leafification, loosely based on the bad ending of Pikmin 1 where, oh, and spoiler warning if you don't want to know this, skip to this timestamp if you don't want to hear it. Olimar fucking died. If your life support fails, those cute little Pikmin will use you as a food pellet, and your indigestible alien flesh will instead come out half plant, rather than be used for new sprouts. A lot of people think this is really screwed up or existential or indicates that those little guys have something nefarious going on. Personally, I think that it isn't that deep, and it's just like how carnivorous pets will eat their owners if they die and their bodies are left alone. Like, you are made of food. Animals instinctually eat. It's on the same level of screwed up as the Bulbman from 2. Call me a party pooper, but I'm not buying the theory. Personally, I think we should all be worrying about the actual eldritch monstrosity. Anyway, those leafified individuals will leafify other individuals, so you have a second objective. Cure them once you find your medic. Overall, in terms of gameplay, Pikmin 4 is an amazing game, however, I do just have to comment on how the game is very hand-holdy, with an auto lock-on that you can't disable, as well as an overall much lower difficulty. The gameplay is still fun, and I love how packed with content and side missions it is, but it is nowhere near the difficulty level as previous games. That isn't to say it's piss easy, some parts of this thing are like Sisyphean torture. But the hand-holding is off-putting, especially for people coming from earlier games. Considering how 4 seems to be a mix of 2 and 3, my personal favorites in the series, I really don't see why it's so much easier other than them trying to branch out to a wider audience. I get this to a degree. Before 4, Pikmin wasn't a very popular Nintendo series, so the making 4 have a wider appeal in whatever way they could does make sense. They also did this in the form of a dog mascot who, again, makes the game infinitely easier. In theory. Personally, I found him neat at first, and using him to traverse by making him have the jump button was incredibly interesting, but later on he started pissing me off a ridiculous amount. He's in this in-between state of simultaneously making the game infinitely easier via his abilities, or infinitely more annoying when he starts doing everything you don't want him to do. Unpredictable. Just like a real dog! Upgrades for the player can also be made from these materials, which I guess is some sort of middle ground between how they're made from random materials in Pikmin 2 and how they're just found directly on the floor in 3. This is neat in theory, but again, see the previous comment about how easy 4 gets in the late game. Did we need total immunity from everything? Probably not, but at least I can feel safe when I send Ochi to fucking war. Pikmin 4 also acts as a sort of soft reboot for the series. It takes on a lot of the previous game aspects that went well with players, whilst updating the lore to be a sort of blank slate. It does make sense since the story couldn't really go anywhere after the end of 3 if you think about it, but it also means that the timeline is now in shambles. If we're replacing Pikmin 1 whilst keeping the setup for 2 and 3 in place, why the hell is the Blossom Wraith in the manga? Millions have discussed this thing, and there is no definitive answer. Personally, I like to hail everything as canon unless something contradictive shows up, when I will then take the answer I like best and simply pretend the other one doesn't exist. I don't care about Nintendo's random lore drops from outside of the game. Hero's Hideaway does not exist to me. Mankind is dead, and nectar is fuel.
I don't care who the IRS sends, I am not-
In all, I'm not that fussed about the soft reboot. Not only can I simply pretend it doesn't exist, but having the story be at a point where stuff can be added to it opens up the opportunity for new games and content. Considering how Nintendo seems to actually give a shit about Pikmin now, I'd be excited to see more games or just more anything, really. If you got the physical copy of the manga before it sold out, I'm coming to your house and I'm going to rob you. To continue touching on the story, I'm a character-focused girly and I really loved the Rescue Corps, especially Shepard. I will not share my opinions on Shepard. I was quite disappointed that we didn't get to actually play as any of the Rescue Corps, with the exceptions being Dingo having text cutscenes if you lost, which I didn't, by the way, because I'm an alpha gamer, or Ochi, who I have, again, mixed opinions on. My favorite Pikmin game is 3. I would have killed to have an actual second captain. My opinion on Ochi cannot be legally shared due to a strict NDA. All of the Rescue Corps bounce off one another very nicely as characters, and I really enjoyed the end-of-day cutscenes showing everyone talking to one another. It's very clearly something carried over from 3's talk scenes, which I thoroughly enjoyed, as I can mash the down button on the gamepad and pretend I was playing a visual novel like every girl should. I really liked the cast, and honestly, I'd be lying if I said that the Rescue Corps alone weren't a big motivator for me to pick 4 up. You can't dangle a goofy cast of characters that people draw in silly scenarios daily in front of me like that. It's like a carrot on a stick. To stop yapping, I loved Pikmin 4. Possibly due to the Stockholm Syndrome I'm suffering from due to Miyamoto putting a gun to my head and not letting me think about anything other than Pikmin. I'm experiencing punishments for my thought crimes a la 1984. I'm being held hostage right now. Play Pikmin. Right now. I'd say that 4 is my third favorite Pikmin game, liking it more than 1, but less than 2 and 3. But that's not to say that these lower ranks are bad. Every game in this series is a masterpiece to me, and I cannot wait until I get a 3DS specifically to play Hey Pikmin and rank that one too. Subscribe, maybe I'll hit monetization requirements after a decade on this website, and you'll make that possible. Anyway, remember what I said earlier about how I play Splatoon to check it out before the server dies? Anyway, back to Splatoon. So, yeah, my Switch didn't end up being just a Pikmin machine. I got a copy of Splatoon 3 and immediately locked in. I have just about the same opinions on 3 as I do on 1, but the main change being that I am kinda glad the gamepad doesn't exist anymore to stop it from being so bullshit. Why Nintendo gave us the ability to ink strike the enemy base from wherever we want using the gamepad is beyond me. I'm very glad that Booyah Mom is in a controlled radius. In all honesty, Splatoon 3 saw my addiction spiral. Remember what I said earlier about not liking shooters? Well, I'm S+ rank now. So I think that drastic change speaks for itself. I picked up Splatoon 3 in March just in time for the Drums vs Guitar vs Keyboard Fest. That is right. Not even a month after getting my hands on Splatoon 1. I was in an intense trance sung by Squid. A 5G wave was being sent directly to my skull telling me to buy Splatoon and Splatoon products. Probably my favorite thing about Splatoon 3 would, as you could probably guess from my overall areas of interest, the characters. Especially Deep Cut. God, I love Deep Cut. The decision to make the new idols mischievous little critters was pretty refreshing. I really love their antagonistic role in the story mode, and they're just very unique idols overall, and they are probably my favorites in the whole series. Secret agents? Nah. We're stealing shit. I do feel like Deep Cut got shafted in terms of attention over the whole update cycle for Splatoon 3, but that didn't really take anything away from them being my favorites. Nintendo really likes handing me a silver platter of weirdo trios to get obsessed with, I guess. Let me take this opportunity to say that I am a certified Friar. I have been on Fry's team for all fests but one, specifically Team Save the Day, as I truly believed that I was built different and that I would have intervened. And we lost, so I guess that was my punishment for not picking Fry. I was on the following Splatfest teams. Team Guitar, where I lost. Team Bunnies, where I lost. Team Save the Day, where I lost. Team Theme Park, where I lost. Team Rice, where I won. And Team Night, where I lost. As for Grandfest, well, I put my pledge in and dedicated multiple streams directly to the cause of being a true Friar until the end. 1 splatillion wins for Team Future. Grandfest was the hypest I've been for a video game event since Operation Blackout. Yes, that's right, I haven't felt true joy since Club Penguin in 2012. I inked. I splatted. I went crazy. I cranked 90s. I fought with everything I had, just me and my sploosh-o-matic against the world in the name of my Blorbos. And to quote the greatest Half-Life 2 music video of all time. In the end, it didn't even matter. I stayed up until 3 in the morning for those results. Hyped. Excited. I'd fought for my life against the other teams, evenly matched against Team Present, and honestly, getting the floor wiped with me by Team Past. I felt nothing at that 0-point screen. It didn't even make a dent. One fest. I don't know why. Another team placement doomed by Fry. I had given my all to Splatoon. There was a Splatoon-shaped void in my soul. And I knew that this void could only be filled with one thing. More Splatoon. It was at this point that I just knew it was over for me. I would never be satisfied or satiated. My brain was a great turf war recreation between the great forces of Splatoon and Pikmin. My dopamine regulators hungered, and they hungered for salt and pepper squid. They hungered for takoyaki. My friend bought me a copy of Splatoon 2, and I dove directly into the story mode. Honestly, not nearly as hyped or as detailed as Splatoon 3's. Makes sense, the series was still trying to get its footing, so they couldn't really pull anything crazy like the end of 3 just yet. Splatoon 2 kind of feels like Splatoon 1 all over again, and if I was literally anybody else, I could probably write some kind of thesis on how it's like nostalgic or something. But unfortunately, I bought a Wii U last fucking year, so the concept of nostalgia is beyond me and I do not care. As you can probably guess from my previous Splatoon opinions, I hold every game to about the same level. I don't really hold one Splatoon over any of the others, they're just kind of a package deal to me. But I'm not here to yap about the gameplay. Oh no, I'm here to talk about the DLC for Splatoon 2. I streamed the entirety of Octo Expansion live on Twitch as a nice little side project to condense down into 2.5 hours of YouTube video. It flopped heavily, and YouTube Studio considered it to be my worst video that I have ever uploaded. Octo Expansion is my favorite single-player Splatoon campaign so far. So far because I don't have side order to compare it to. Octo Expansion added a lot to the story, along with fleshing out Pearl and Marina better as characters. Deep Cut did not get this luxury, but that is a topic for another time. Before Octo Expansion, I didn't have any real opinions on Off the Hook. They're absent in the single-player campaign, and I never got to play any Splatfest, so the only writing to go off for their characterization and relationships was from the news broadcasts, which were very limited to say the least. Octo Expansion fleshes them out a lot more, and man, I really love their dynamic. The whole backstory with Marina leaving her entire life behind and creating her own new perfect one with Pearl specifically, the first person she met in Inkopolis, was very sweet. I'm not going to go over Octo Expansion's plot in detail, again because I just don't like to put spoilers in these kinds of videos, but whoa, that was a perfect creep of messed up. It leaves the player in the dark just well enough to creep in the second plotline while they're still processing the first much lighter one, and I'll just leave it at that to avoid spoiling it. As I was playing Octo Expansion, I was able to pick up on what they kept in Splatoon 3's single-player campaign, notably the level style and the money functions. It was pretty nice to be able to pick up on this. If you want to see my blind reactions to Octo Expansion, mention, you can sit through my movie-length highlights reel that flopped intensely over the algorithm because I'm too hot for YouTube to handle, and they cannot fathom my once-per-year upload schedule. Overall, Splatoon is probably one of my new favorite games, like, ever. I picked it up for the Wii U thinking I wouldn't like it much, and now look at me. I'm 400 hours deep. I'm invested. I'm too far gone. Splatoon and Pikmin have consumed my thoughts. When I have spare time, I'm either grabbing my Switch to rip my hair out over X battles, or a Wiimote to start ripping my hair out over a random cave obstacle. As of writing this script, I have realized that all I have to my name is squids and carrot ants. I need something else to pad this video out. I have to have played something else this year, right? Right? Well, due to my ongoing brain rot hell, I ended up getting the Pikmin amiibos just to kind of stare at them. I did this as I entirely forgot I had an Ami pre-order and ended up spending about 60 quid on Pikmin merch over the span of 2 days. Don't take financial advice from me. In case you've been living under a rock, amiibos are these interactive little figurines that Nintendo makes of their characters, or of characters they have some kind of advertising connection to. Scanning these on the Wii U, 3DS, or Switch will bring something interactable up. In Splatoon, amiibos unlock new levels, clothing items, concerts, and locations, depending on what game you're playing. In Breath of the Wild, amiibos give you items associated with each character, or random food items if it isn't a Zelda character. Pikmin has no such amiibo capabilities, so they're just figures, I guess. I'm assuming you can use them in Smash, but I don't play Smash. Anyway, one of the games that comes pre-installed with the Wii U, or at least with my Wii U, is Mini Mario and Friends Amiibo Challenge, which I did play the second my amiibos came in, and I have literally nothing to say about it. Gimmick is, if you have a Mario amiibo, you get to play as that character and play special levels to do with that character. I don't have any Mario amiibos, and that is okay. This game is prepared for it. My beautiful Splatoon and Pikmin amiibos are included as the game just makes you play as this robot guy and play standard uncustomized levels. Okay. I really do not have anything to say about this game, like, at all.
I know where you live.
The Garfield Show for Nintendo Wii is a game that functions. It boots and it loads, and it contains content and images. It even has Garfield. It is a game that's on a disc and comes in a box and cost me 1 quid from CEX. It sure exists. I would have to say that the Garfield Show for Nintendo Wii is one of the games ever. It is one of the games that has ever been made. It sure is. The gameplay is one of the most ever, in my honest opinion, and I think that it's definitely one of the games of all time. This was a game that was developed over a period of time. I had an experience playing this game. It caused emotions and feelings, and I have thoughts and opinions regarding this game that are either positive, negative, or maybe even neutral. Garfield is a cat who likes lasagna. The Nintendo Wii is one of the best-selling consoles of all time, and it has many games on it. Some are good and some are bad. The Garfield Show is either one of the good ones or one of the bad ones. Some may say that this game is poorly functional shovelware that explains nothing and does not work as intended. Maybe. Maybe. Either way, I streamed the Garfield Show for the Nintendo Wii in August as part of my return to Twitch. The plotline is lasagna from space have began hypnotizing the mice, and Garfield has to now defeat them via minigames somehow. My Twitch chat told me to name my save file Garfussy. I didn't listen to them. This is a game that exists, and I either recommend it or I don't. I would like to stop thinking about this game now and move on to something else. Okay, Lex from the future here again. Lex from the future here again. I have a friend who I went to MCMX EGX with, who was cosplaying the U2's Garfield X Miku figurine. As part of this bit, she sort of obtained quite a few Garfield-themed items, in the process one of them being Garfield 2 for the DS. So when I was done with the Garfield Show video game, I gave it to her, and it just disappeared. It's gone. She remembers me giving it to her, she does not remember anything else. It's like I gave her the game, and it just evaporated into thin air. I'm convinced that I did not get a video game that day, when I bought the Garfield Show for the Nintendo Wii. I'm convinced I gained some kind of cursed item that was bound to me. and because I tried to give it to someone else, it has now disappeared. What do I do? Timesplitters 2 is a game that I played this year that I really wish I could talk about, but unfortunately, my Xbox One is being held hostage under various boxes in the living room at my mother's house, which is currently having an entirely new floor fitted on it, making the living room uninhabitable, so I can't really record footage or refresh my memory on it. I just have to screen record all the cutscenes from YouTube. This sucks. Timesplitters 2 is a first-person shooter game released in 2002 for the GameCube, Xbox, and PlayStation 2. I found this game in a charity shop for 50 pence and decided to see if it would boot on my Xbox One, which would be incredibly lucky considering how only 28% of 360 and original Xbox games are playable, despite there being literally nothing wrong with the other 72% of the catalog. That's the general premise down. The enemies at the game, the titular Timesplitters, have taken control over portals powered by time crystals. I ended up playing about half of Timesplitters 2, and I enjoyed it quite a lot from what I could play. Timesplitters 2 is set out into different missions with various objectives you have to get through for the main story. Each level is set at a different point in history to recover the scattered time crystals, and this makes it pretty unique. No two levels are really alike due to the drastic time differences, and the environmental design is absolutely immaculate. Each level is so unique that it almost feels like its own campaign with objectives and characters, the scale of this being seriously impressive. For reference, there are 126 playable characters in this game. 126! They did not need to cook this hard. Yeah, I wish I could say more about this game, but again, I can't for reasons entirely out of my control. I'm also a great fan of the visual style in both the promotional material and the in-game renders. It sticks to this really cartoony, shape-based style, and I'm a huge fan of it personally. The early-ish 3D graphics being stylized like this gives it a sort of timeless feeling. Its blocky look plays into the cartoon feels, so you probably won't even realize this is a video game from 2002. The only things I didn't like about Timesplitters 2, other than some enemy designs not aging too well in my honest opinion, was not even really to do with the game itself and was entirely to do with how I'm playing this on an Xbox One. The game has no tutorial, which is fine on its own, but the menus call for buttons that don't exist on a modern controller, and overall it just feels infinitely clunkier on modern hardware. But my broke ass is not buying an original Xbox anytime soon, so it's not like this complaint really means anything. Overall, really liked Timesplitters. Really wish I could play more Timesplitters. Very excited to be dragging my Xbox One out from under all of that rubble. Another game that I picked up this year that I entirely forgot I picked up until my Steam replay dropped and said that I picked it up this year was Half-Life 2 Deathmatch. I started playing for a games night and it was scary. Take one left turn and you've got a radiator thrown directly at you at Mach fuck. I'm scared. Get me out of here. I don't need to say anything else about this game. It's Half-Life 2 Deathmatch. I'm scared. And that is every single game that I played in 2024. Yeah, it was not much. I wish to get into more shooters this year, and I guess the monkey's paw curled and I gained a chronic squid addiction. I went from getting a wrist brace from ultra killing too hard to clawing and biting my way to X battles with a sploosh and a dream. As I scripted this, I got a few raps back. Steam replay, Nintendo year in review, and my Twitch recap, and it is bleak for me. Nothing but Splatoon and Pikmin as far as the eye can see, except Garfield card snuck itself in somehow. Even though I definitely stream Pikmin 2 more than I stream Garfield card. What is it doing here? 371 hours in Splatoon 3 alone. Think about what that does to a man. Needless to say, I think I have a new favorite series and it isn't even close. Perhaps it stemmed from my need to make my Switch purchase feel worth it. Perhaps it stemmed from always liking those silly squids and being envious of my friends who cross-posted from Miiverse to Google+. We will never understand my pathological obsessions with squids. Or Pikmin. Release me from my prison! Well, here's a quickfire round of games that I'm gonna play before the year ends that won't make it into next year's video due to still being in 2024 by technicality. First of all, The Legend of Zelda Tears of the Kingdom. Breath of the Wild just barely scraped getting into the previous video with me just having the box and not having played enough to talk about it. But it was still 2023, so it didn't count for 2024. Tears of the Kingdom is gonna be a holiday gift, so it suffers the same fate. Pizza Tower. As previously mentioned, I have to research games for university, and I have been tasked with researching 2D games. Pizza Tower is one of them. Unfortunately, I'm going to be ripping this thing over and doing stuff like math and annotating level designs and picking apart sprites and frames and such, rather than actually talking about what happens in the game itself or the gameplay, so it isn't very content-worthy. But I'll stream it maybe. Splatoon 3, Side Order. This is gonna get another 2.5 hour long video that's inevitably gonna flop. Be there or be square. And maybe one of the various unplayed games I grabbed from CEX, only just stare at their pretty packaging. All of the game boxes that I just dumped on the ground have been sat on my shelf for however long. I will get to them. Maybe. Eventually. Don't count on it. This is Banui. So long, and good night. See ya next year, sucker!